Hey there, Internet, and welcome to quite literally the last day of 2016, getting this in under the wire, my favorite books that I read this year. In no particular order, I'm kicking this video off with the Six of Crows series by Leigh Bardugo. Also taking place in her sort of Grisha-verse from her previous books, this is the story of 6 thieves working together as a crew to pull off some incredible heists. There's, of course, some magic involved, but more and more, this story is just grounded in people. What drives us? What makes us tick? Where are we willing to draw the line, and how far is too far? This is a great action-packed series if you like your fantasy with a little bit of a punch, figuratively or literally. Another fantasy tale I loved this year was Truthwitch by Susan Dennard. This is a fantastic high fantasy first book in a series about a world where some people are blessed with witcheries, except if you're Isolde, you're maybe a little bit cursed. See, she has the ability to tell when people are lying, and given her particular political position, that can be an incredibly dangerous place to be. This book is action-packed, there is swoon-worthy romance, there's an incredible friendship at the center of it all, and the amazing thing about this book is that there's not necessarily a villain. Susan does an incredible job of pointing out from each person's point of view how they are not necessarily in the wrong. They are justified in their feelings just as much as anybody else is. I am so excited for the sequel to this book, Wind Witch, to be coming out in just a few short weeks in the US. I was incredibly fortunate for Susan to come to my school this year, and another author I was so lucky to meet was Jennifer Lynn Barnes, the author of the Naturals series. I am normally not one for mysteries or psychological thrillers, but this book apparently is the exception to the rule. I couldn't get enough of it. This is the story of 4 teenagers who all work for the FBI and are trained in particular ways to enhance their natural abilities to help the FBI track down serial killers. It's basically Criminal Minds for a young adult audience, and it's amazing. Also, the audiobook of this, super creepy, super good. I was so sad to get out of my car. I only ever wanted to keep listening to it. Another mystery I particularly enjoyed was The Cuckoos Calling by Robert Galbraith. Robert Galbraith being the pen name for J.K. Rowling. Now, this series is nothing like Harry Potter. It takes place in the real world, but in the sense that she is an incredible writer and skilled at world building and getting to know characters and getting inside different situations and different people's heads. And that way, J.K. Rowling is shining as brightly as ever. This is the first book in a series. There are 2 others out, with a 3rd one, I believe, due in 2017. If you like mysteries, don't let this one pass you up. It's about a private eye in London. A genre that I don't normally explore a ton of, but I'm definitely more willing to give a chance to, is graphic novels. And a graphic novel I loved so much this year, I actually read it multiple times, was Nimona. This is a beautiful piece, like visually beautiful, but also an incredible story about a girl who wants nothing more than to be a supervillain in her fantastical land. She is actually basically an intern to the current villain, but when it turns out that the government isn't quite as spotless as they'd like everyone to believe, she is actually the one to save the day, while simultaneously ruining a lot of other people's days. It's funny, it's lighthearted, but it's also emotional and serious, and I adored it. The City in the City is speculative fiction at its finest. It is about these 2 cities, I believe in Europe, and they geographically exist in the same place, but sort of on top of each other and intertwined. But they have different cultures, different languages, they're technically different countries, and the whole reason that you're drawn into this world and the various rules that govern both of these cities is because a crime has taken place, and a cop from one city has to then investigate in the other, which is an incredibly rare occurrence. If you like books that really make you think and with layers, this is definitely a speculative fiction pick for you. A.S. King is completely on the top of her game, but I say that all the time, but I feel like it really happens with Still Life with Tornado. This is about a 17-year-old girl having an existential crisis, and she can't quite figure out why. It could be because someone destroyed her art show project right before the show, and she never got to put it on display. It could be because these long-buried memories of a family trip to Mexico are suddenly coming to light and making her very uncomfortable about the truth about her family. And also, it could be the fact that she's seeing both past and future versions of herself walking around aren't helping at all. This book is just awesome. She just does an amazing thing with words that it's truly a gift. And I could never imagine writing this way, and I am grateful for every book she writes. For any Hamilton fans out there, I encourage you to pick up Founding Mothers by Cokie Roberts. If you thought that Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy were incredible, just wait until you hear about all of the other amazing women who were around at the beginning of our country. It's women who, for so long, have not gotten the recognition they so richly deserve. So this book is incredibly readable. It covers both prior to the revolution and after, and just seeing how the parts of our country fit together and how women always have a place in it and how we must always continue raising our voices to make sure we are heard in our society. For any other viewers out there or readers who loved the TV show Firefly, I highly recommend you pick up The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This filled that brown coat hole in my heart, and this is about a crew aboard a rackety old spaceship that they are charged with building a tunnel that will go from one end of space to another. But to first build the tunnel, they have to get to the end, and that means taking the long way to a small angry planet and then punching their way through space. But that's what they do. So over the course of the year that they're making this journey, you get to know the individual members of the crew, the individual journeys that they're going on, and as a group, how they are navigating space, literally and figuratively. And another book that I haven't been able to stop recommending ever since I finished it was Last Call at the Nightshade Lounge. This book is Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets booze. Basically, the concept is, what if different alcoholic mixed drinks gave you superpowers for as long as you were taking to digest them? It's an incredible concept. It takes place in Chicagoland, so it was fun for me to have sort of that homeland connection. But also, it was simultaneously action-packed and thoughtful and just fun. I thoroughly enjoyed any time I was able to sneak in reading a few pages of this, and I have not stopped recommending it ever since I finished it. So those are just 10 books that I read this year. There were plenty more where that came from. I would love to know what you guys liked in 2016, anything you would recommend. I always love hearing from you. If it is already 2017 when you're watching this, I wish you a very happy and safe new year. May good things come your way. All of my usual links are down below. Comments are always welcome, and that's it for me for now. Take care. Bye. I'm currently reading Illuminae, and if you like what you've seen here today, please like and please subscribe for more.